Hi everybody, it's me, Corrie Sommers, your local Los Angeles luxury realtor. Today we're going to be discussing the city of Beverly Hills. This is a part of Los Angeles and there's so much to share with you about its origin. Be sure to stay tuned. If you have not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please take a moment to click the subscribe button below as well as the bell for updates, and I'll be right back to get into Beverly Hills. Welcome back. So Beverly Hills is a part of Los Angeles. It is probably one of the most worldwide recognized parts of Los Angeles. Very well known for wealth, extravagance. It's been in all kinds of movies and featured in different magazines. Where is Beverly Hills exactly? Well, first and foremost, Beverly Hills is part of what's known as the Platinum Triangle. This includes Beverly Hills, it includes Holmby Hills, and Bel Air, and it's bordered by West Hollywood. The total area of Beverly Hills is only about 5.7 square miles. The area that we know as Beverly Hills today was originally a farm, a Spanish ranch that grew lima beans. That's right, it was all a big lima bean farm. And it was settled by Maria Rites Quinteras de Valdez and her husband. Their 4,500 acre ranch was named Rancho Rodeo de las Aguas, probably part of why we have Rodeo Drive. In 1854, the ranch was sold to a Benjamin Davis Wilson and Henry Hancock. Now, from there, Henry Hamilton and Andrew Decker purchased the majority of the land, and it became known as the Denke Ranch. And in 1888, they were planning to build a town called Morocco. Well, all good plans don't necessarily happen. So in 1990, a group of gentlemen that included Burton Green, Charles Cantfield, Max Whittier, Frank Buck, Henry Huntington, William Kirchhoff, William Heron, W.S. Porter, Frank Balch, they all together formed the Amalgamated Oil Company. And so this group purchased the land that Hamel and Decker Ranch, and they went looking for oil. Now, some of those names might sound familiar. Don't worry, we'll get to those cities later. Well, unfortunately, this was a failed attempt. So after failing at finding oil in the early 1900s, the land that we now know as Beverly Hills was subdivided into lots. Beverly Hills itself was incorporated in 1914 and named after the Beverly Farm in Massachusetts and the hills in that immediate area. That's pretty interesting. I never knew that. The very first home in this Beverly Hills new subdivision was built in 1907. However, the initial sales of the lots and homes in Beverly Hills was initially moving pretty slow. One of the things that I found in my research was that Beverly Hills was initially designed and intended to be a all-white planned community. And this really was enabled by the restrictive racist covenants that were in place at that time. And they prohibited non-whites from owning or renting property unless they were employed as servants to white residents. Yeah, I find that offensive. Well, likewise, it was forbidden to sell or rent property to Jewish people in Beverly Hills at that time as well. Now, I'm going to switch up a little bit. The Beverly Hills Hotel, which is very worldwide popular, has been featured in movies, was first started construction in 1911 and it was completed in 1912. That was actually pretty good timing, about a year. Visitors were drawn to this hotel and they were inclined to purchase land in Beverly Hills. So by 1914, the population started to grow and land started to sell. And so by that point, there was enough people and interest to incorporate Beverly Hills as its own city. That same year, the Rodeo Land and Water Company separated its water business from its real estate business. Now, as a result, the Beverly Hills Utility Commission was split from the land company, and that was incorporated in 1914, buying an all utility-related assets from Rodeo Land and Water Company. And this might not seem very important, but it's a part of what allows certain cities to own all of their utilities versus being a part of just LAWDP. In 1919, Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford bought land on Summit Drive and built a mansion. This was finished in 1921. This mansion was nicknamed the Pickfair mansion by the press. And with the glamorous, talk and press associated with Pickford, other movie stars started building mansions, and the city of Beverly Hills became more and more appealing. By 1920, Beverly Hills had grown so much in population that it was enough to make the water supply a political issue. So in 1923, the solution was to annex the city of Beverly Hills from the city of Los Angeles. And this was met with some opposition of some of the famous residents like the Pickfords, Fairbanks, Will Rogers, and Rudolph Valentino. Now, with this opposition, the idea of annexing the city from the city of Los Angeles was crushed. Well, again, we all know Beverly Hills is now its own city today, so eventually they got there. In the 1940s, Black actors and businessmen began to move into Beverly Hills. Remember, it was supposed to be an all-white community. Thankfully, that changed. This resulted, however, in Neighborhood Improvement Association trying to enforce that covenant in courts. The defendants included Hattie McDaniels, Louis Beavers, and Ethel Waters. The NAACP participated in this defense, and it was successful. Thank God. So now Beverly Hills became integrated. In 1956, Paul Truesdale purchased the grounds of the Doheny Ranch and developed it into what we now know and is worldwide renowned, the Truesdale Estates. He convinced the city of Beverly Hills to annex it. Now, this area has become very famous thanks to television shows that highlight it, but also really thanks to celebrities that have lived there. Celebrities like Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, Tony Curtis, Ray Charles, President Nixon, Jennifer Aniston, Vera Wang, David Spade, just to name a few. Now, regardless of the name, most residents actually live in the flats of Beverly Hills. There is a hillside portion, but again, most residents live in the flats. And that's the land from the hills that is basically inclined down to the north side of Sunset over to Santa Monica. Santa Monica Boulevard actually divides the flats into two areas. So there's like a north and a south of the tracks, if you will. But the reason this was referred to the north and south side of the tracks actually has to do with the old Pacific electric car that ran through Los Angeles, and it transversed Beverly Hills along the Santa Monica Boulevard. So homes south of Wilshire have always had like a little bit more of an urban squared rectangular lot, and in general are much smaller than the homes north of Wilshire. And there's also more apartment buildings south of Wilshire than anywhere else in Beverly Hills. In fact, if you are ever looking to get into Beverly Hills, not ready to buy, you might want to look into an apartment option. So that said, there's a pretty extensive history about Beverly Hills. We are going to go into one of my favorite parts of doing these video series, and it's just really talking about some of the different price points, entry-level homes, mid-range homes, and expensive homes in the area. So what was very interesting before I really dive deep, the most expensive home in Beverly Hills at the time of recording this video is on the market for $125 million. However, south of Wilshire Boulevard is a property that's an entry-level Beverly Hills home, which is on the market for $2,295,000. This is located at 341 South Clark Drive. And it's west of Robinson, north of West Olympic. It's a modest Spanish-style home that is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Could use some updates. And this is pretty typical of what a entry-level home in Beverly Hills would get you. It's going to cost you over $2 million. It's going to need some updating, and chances are it's going to be a Spanish-style home. At the time of recording this video, the mid-range property on the market in Beverly Hills is a property that is asking $26.5 million. It's located at 1130 Carroll Way. It's a 6-bedroom, 13-bathroom, over 12,000 square foot home on almost a half-acre lot. Now, this is a home that is soaring above Sunset, and it has views from downtown Los Angeles all the way to the ocean. So it's pretty phenomenal. This is a new construction contemporary home, which has unprecedented finishes, 4,000 square feet of balconies and decks and rooftop lounge, which just really gives it that amazing 360-degree view that everyone just wants, right, to die for. This is the most expensive home on the market in Beverly Hills at the time of recording this video, which is asking $125 million. What's interesting about this particular property is 1011 North Beverly Drive. It is the home of the former estate of the newspaper magnate William Rudolph Hearst and actress Marion Davis. Hearst is famous for the Hearst Castle, but this was the Beverly home. And this home was actually featured in movies like The Godfather and Bodyguard. It's situated on 3.5 acres. It's an H-formatted architectural style home with 18 bedrooms with suites, a 2-story library, a billiard room, a formal living room with a 22-foot painted ceiling. That must have taken some serious time. And this historic home was a destination spot for Jacqueline and John F. Kennedy's honeymoon, as well as the West Coast presidential headquarters. So very, very famous home, has seen a lot of high-profile people come through it. And, you know, Hearst was the Hearst estate. So you've got that going on. And hopefully these pictures give you a little bit of taste of what that's like. Overall, I hope that this information has helped you to get to know Beverly Hills a little bit. Some little tidbits I didn't get into just yet that are fun little factoids, if you will. All of the fire hydrants in Beverly Hills are actually painted a silver, unlike the red or yellow that you would see throughout the rest of Los Angeles. They are silver. So if you're ever driving and you're leaving West Hollywood and you're not really sure if you're in Beverly Hills or not, look for those fire hydrants. You'll know for sure. Thank you guys so much for watching today. If you're considering relocating to Los Angeles, I do have a relocation guide below. If you're thinking Beverly Hills might be it for you and initially you were a little scared, don't let the $125 million property intimidate you. There are homes in Beverly Hills that you can get on an entry level for a little over $2 million, $5, $10, $15 million. There are options for you. It might be something to consider. I'm also going to have a neighborhood guide on Beverly Hills below for you as well, kind of diving in a little bit deeper to some of the attractions of Beverly Hills. Of course, we all know about Rodeo Drive. There's many, many great restaurants, and there's just a couple other really unique things to Beverly Hills. There's also a park. Again, you've got the flats, you've got the hills, you've got a worldwide renowned hotel. So the guide has a little bit of some of the special features and attractions for Beverly Hills as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. If you have yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please subscribe and click that bell for updates. I will see you guys again on the next neighborhood video.